Well, just 2 days before the brutal assassination of Charlie Kirk, a far-left radical rag website, Jezebel, published an article about Charlie Kirk that they are literally praying that you do not see. And I'm going to show it to you because honestly, I think it has a lot to do with his assassination. And quite frankly, it is going to piss you off. And a lot of people miss this, by the way. And not only that, but I've got information regarding more information on his death, what the response is from the mainstream media, the left and the radical left. And it's absolutely heartbreaking because there's literally leftists out there right now celebrating. And it just makes me sick to my stomach. I wouldn't do that to anyone. I don't wish death or anything on any person. But not only that, but Steven Crowder also dropped a bombshell and supposedly has inside information on the gun and what it was written on it. Well, it's also going to floor you guys as well. I've got a lot to share with you, but let's start with this far left feminist rag of a website, Jezebel. Take a look at this article. Again, it's going to piss you off. And this was published on September 8th, just 2 days ago. And it says, we paid some Etsy witches to curse Charlie Kirk. If the far-right misogynist with a bad haircut wants to villainize independent women, Jezebel is more than happy to be the hag of his nightmare. You know, I don't know about you, but witches and their curses are a real thing. But here's what it says. And I've highlighted kind of in yellow the area there that I'm going to be focusing on. But it says, the internet has ruined me 1,000 ways. But one of its strangest gift is that I can now buy a curse as easy as I can buy a phone charger. On the mystical website Etsy, you can find a spell for just about anything. It goes on a little bit further, but the internet has its downsides. Exhibit A, Charlie Kirk. And then it goes on to just bash him and all of that. I don't want to read the bashing. It is absolutely absurd, especially in light of what happened. But it goes on. Are you interested in punishing Kirk for the years of regressive rhetoric he shouted at America's youth and anyone within earshot? Here at Jezebel, we're about to find out if there's a spell for that. It goes on. I want to make it clear. I'm not calling on dark forces to cause him harm, yet days later, that's exactly what happened. But they go on and say, I just want him to wake up every morning with an inexplicable zit. I want his podcast microphone to malfunction every time he hits record. I want his blue blazers suddenly to be all sizes too small, yada, yada, yada. Okay, they go on a little bit here and it says, I typed in cursed enemy into Etsy's search bar. 5,000 results came up. That's disturbing in and of itself that people are going to freaking Etsy to cast spells. It's ludicrous, but it goes on. The options were endless. Should I try basically revenge or some bad luck charm or insanity hoax or my personal favorite, simply hex Republicans? The reviews were their own kind of magic. Then I found the crown jewel of them all. SHIT your pants spell. Review. It really works. Thank you. At that point, it was clear I'd need to order multiple curses at different severity levels and price points to guarantee results. After placing my first spell, make everyone hate him, I was left with more questions than answer. How long would it take to kick in? Should I have splurged for a pricier spell to make it work faster? This is pissing me off. Anyway, for the powerful hex spell, I had to provide Kirk's date of birth for accuracy. The witch performed the hex, but her response was unsettling. I just completed your spell and it was successful, right? It goes on the next day, the priestess, and I'd put that with a little p, sent me her proof of the casted spell, a photograph in flames, the edges slowly curving inwards and engulfing Charlie's ridiculous scrunched up little face. She whispered, trust the unseen. And they got chills and all of that. Wow. Can you believe this? What a freaking rag. Oh, and then they went into damage control after the fact. And I want to show you this note at the very, very top there that I've circled in yellow. Here's their editor's note that just got put up there. This story was published on September 8th. Jezebel condemns the shooting of Charlie Kirk in the strongest possible terms. We do not endorse, encourage, or excuse political violence of any kind. Wow. I guess this is personal to me because I did actually have a spell cast on me, but I've got a hedge of protection now. And I always send, if anybody casts a spell on me, I say in Jesus' name, I send it back to the sender, right? And I'm sure Charlie Kirk had God's protection, but either way, maybe this was his timing. Jesus had bad things happen and good things happen, and we don't always have the reason why, but we do know only God knows the time of our deaths. And he knew the time of Charlie's. And it was very unfortunate. What makes me really sick is people like this guy were standing up in the freaking audience the second the shots were fired. He is celebrating right there. Whoever the hell this guy is, he needs to be plastered all over the dang internet. And he needs to, hopefully they take action and fire him from his job. This is insane. And this was published by Michael Key there on the media. In fact, the mainstream media has been twisting things, sickly so, right? Here's this little network here. And I want you to hear what MSNBC had the audacity to say. Take a listen.
In which a shooting like this happens.
Yeah, and again, emphasize what you just emphasized. We don't know any of the full details of this. We don't know if this was a supporter shooting their gun off in celebration, or so we have no idea. But
a supporter shooting their gun off in celebration? Really?
Yesterday?
I mean, what the hell? What the hell is wrong with people? This is in the middle of when it all went down. Not only that, but in our own congressional offices on the House floor, there were boos when there was a call by Lauren Boebert for prayer for Charlie Kirk. And I'm not even making this up. And here it is. And this was posted on Town Hall's X page. But take a listen.
What purpose did the gentlelady from Colorado rise?
She wants a prayer.
Let's wait a minute. The House will be in order. The House will be in order. The House will be in order. The House will be in order.
That's heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. Insane. Our own congressional leaders can't so much as put a prayer down, and they have to make noise. I don't think they would have gotten the same response if something happened to one of their people. I think the Republicans would have gladly prayed, but not these freaking Democrats. In fact, in that towards the end of that, Representative Anna Paulina Luna actually shouts, "Y'all caused this. Y'all caused this." Yeah, I think their rhetoric did. That's what I think. If the left wasn't out there calling him a misogynist, pig, freaking Nazi, like this Jezebel thing, you read the article, it'll make you sick and just upset. But listen, this is the rhetoric they have been putting out there. They have been saying things, let's punch them in the face, like they said with Donald Trump, putting skits out there, literally showing the assassination of a president, right? Madonna out there calling to burn down the White House. Let's not talk about the rhetoric that they've been using for years, because they have been using some pretty damn bad, and I'm sorry for my language. It is very, very tough times right now. But listen, especially in light of everything that happened, this is what they have done. And they are intensifying their rhetoric by not even being the slight bit remorseful over a death. They've been saying we're a threat to democracy and we're going to destroy the country. That's why the radical left lunatics are out there doing crazy stuff. In fact, there's a lot of people who are crazy and really crazy who are all over Bluesky and Reddit, Democrats celebrating his assassination. These people are sick. I would never celebrate anyone's death. I don't care how bad I hate them or dislike them. I wouldn't wish death on anyone, especially people who I know maybe don't have a shot of getting into heaven like Charlie Kirk did. Maybe they should have more time on earth to repent and get right with God. Thank God Charlie Kirk was. And I'm not going to show you all these videos because they are not worth seeing. It's just going to break your heart. This woman here, people celebrating his death all over. And it just makes me sick. These people are out of their minds. And then we've got articles like this opinion piece that get posted too. And this is on the New Republic. The far right is already blaming the left for Charlie Kirk's shooting. Wow. So it was okay for them to use all this violent rhetoric against us. In other words, how dare we call it out? It is. I believe that because of the rhetoric that they have been spewing, that is one of the reasons that there were assassination attempts on Donald Trump's life and Charlie Kirk's. In fact, let's get into some of the update on what they've got thus far as of the making of this video. This is on the Gateway Pundit. FBI Utah officials have good footage of Kirk's shooter. Tracked him from an hour before shooting when he jumped off the building and ran through the neighborhood. They found the weapon in the woods. So here's all of that. And I'm going to summarize this. Basically, the FBI has good surveillance images of Charlie Kirk, assassin, but is not going to release them right away. So they say they have footage. They say he jumped off the roof. So apparently he was supposedly shot from the roof and then jumped off the roof, and they've got good footage of him on video. And they also say that they have the weapon. Oh, and the assassin appears to be college age, right? And it was a bolt action rifle found in a wooded area. So that's kind of the up-to-date information that they've got on the shooter. Now, I hope that this man who shot Charlie Kirk gets the death penalty. I really do. Like for like, eye for an eye, whatever label you want to give it. But I hope that he gets the full extent of the law thrown at him. Because quite frankly, I am worried that there are going to be more conservatives that are going to be targeted the way that Donald Trump was and the way that Charlie Kirk was. Thank God they weren't successful on Donald Trump. But unfortunately, Charlie Kirk didn't have that level of protection. And my heart goes out to everyone who is impacted by this, by the way. But there is more information, particularly about the gun, and exclusive to Steven Crowder. And he's been right before on his inside sources. But here's the exclusive. He says, this morning, my team received an email from an officer at the ATF. The email included a screenshot from what appears to be an internal message describing a weapon and cartridges located by the ATF and other law enforcement agencies near the scene of Charlie Kirk's shooting at Utah Valley State University. And that part has already been confirmed that they did find the weapon. But it goes on to state this. On September 10th, 2025 at 12:24 p.m., conservative political influencer Charlie Kirk was shot and killed at the University of Utah. Mr. Kirk was speaking at the university as part of the American Comeback Tour. Now, multiple SLC 1 and 3 agents responded immediately. The suspect fired one shot from an elevated position on a rooftop in an adjacent building on the campus, and surveillance video shows the suspect jumping off and fleeing the area in foot. And that matches the sources that we heard from the FBI thus far. It says ATF and other law enforcement located an older model imported Mauser 30-06 caliber bolt action rifle wrapped in a towel in a wooded area near the campus. The location of the firearm appears to match the suspect's route of travel. The spent cartridge was still chambered in addition to 3 unspent rounds at the top of the Fed magazine. All cartridges have engraved wording on them expressing transgender and anti-fascist ideology. An emergency trace has been submitted. An ATF SLC is working leads generated by the trace. The firearm and ammunition have been taken by the FBI for DNA analysis and fingerprint impressions. Upon completion of the forensic, the firearm will be disassembled for additional importer information. Multiple people of interest having contacted or detained because of eyewitness testimony and review of video footage. The primary suspect is yet to be identified. ATF is assisting the investigation with multiple other federal, state, and local partners. And the case is co-led by the FBI and the Utah SBI. So, there you have it. Now, I don't know the legitimacy of this. This is coming from his inside source. We will find out. But a lot of it goes along with the statement that has already been officially released by the FBI. And that's the information here. And all of that, right? So we've got this Mauser 30-06 with engravings on it. And I think it was on the cartridges had the engravings of transgender and anti-fascist ideology? Well, it sounds like we've got a radical leftist potentially on our hands, maybe an Antifa member, who knows? But it's definitely a radical leftist. Now, Donald Trump has given a statement on this message, and I want you to hear what he says here. Take a watch.
It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country. From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others, radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives.
I only played a clip of that, but that's the truth. You know, the media needs to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequences of demonizing those who they disagree with day after day after day in the most hateful and despicable ways. And I don't disagree with one word that he said there. This has got to stop. They keep calling us Nazis and we're killing America. We're a threat to democracy. This is on their head too. And that's what I feel. But in conclusion to all of this, I want to close with this, out of respect to Charlie Kirk, because he was once asked how he wanted to be remembered if he died. And here's what he said, and this is posted on Colin Rugg, right? Take a listen.
How do you want to be remembered? I mean, if I die, everything just goes away. How would you, if you could be associated with one thing, how would you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. Most important thing is my faith in my life.
How? Courage for his faith. Let's give him that. Let's give him that. I want to remember him for the courage for his faith. I'm going to do that too. And not just that, but I think this should be a rally cry for everyone out there. Let's do more. Let's amplify the messages that he was giving. Let's amplify recruiting people for conservative and libertarian movements at college campuses, one of the places that have been most invaded by these leftist liberal ideologies. Let's win it back. Charlie Kirk was a threat to them because he won so many people over. He started movements. And mark my words, I think this was an absolute planned attack. This was a hit job. This was a professional. This wasn't just some Joe Schmo, be it a college age kid or not. This person knew what they were doing. And they planned it out. And that's it. Anyhow, I obviously wanted to do all of this for you guys today. I know I went a little longer than normal, but I love you guys. I'm Lisa Haven signing out.